Welcome students. In the last lecture we have seen Fourier's law of heat conduction. So in this lecture we'll start with Newton's law of cooling. Newton's law of cooling is basically giving the guiding equation for the convection heat transfer. So Newton's law of cooling is the guiding equation for the convection heat transfer. Though during Newton's experiment he has considered a cooling process, that's why the name is Newton's law of cooling, but it is equally applicable if a body is either heating or cooling, in both cases. Okay, so here you can see the left hand side. Here this is the rate of heat transfer. Here this one is the surface area from which the heat is basically transferred, and TW is indicating the wall temperature and TF indicating the free stream fluid temperature or the fluid temperature. So this left hand side part is nothing but, this whole thing Q by A is nothing but the convective heat flux. This is what is the convective heat flux. Okay, Q by A. And here you can see the temperature difference. It is written in a way that T wall is greater than TF, that is why TW minus TF, so that this quantity becomes positive. If this quantity is positive, then Q heat flux in the convection process will be positive. Okay, so now here see this particular example and try to understand these different terms. Here there is a plate, you can see. So this is the heated plate, and just over this heated plate let us consider some air or some fluid is flowing. Okay, you can consider this is the fluid which is flowing over the plate. Now in this process what will happen? In this process the heat from the heated plate, which is basically a solid surface, will be transferred to the fluid, and the process by which the fluid will be heated is basically the convection process, or in other words the solid surface will lose heat to the fluid, and this particular process is convection. Why? The reason is that both conduction and the fluid flow is involved here, that is why advection is also present along with the conduction. So this process is nothing but the convection. Now here you see in this process, this temperature, let us consider the temperature of the hot wall or the solid surface is TW, and the temperature far stream from the fluid is say T infinity. So T infinity is the temperature quite a distance away from the solid surface. Okay, because you see that if you consider the temperature distribution perpendicular to the plate, you see that here the temperature is very high. This particular length basically indicating what is the temperature. Let us show by a different color. So this particular length actually showing the temperature at this position. Maybe at this position this length indicating what is the temperature. At this position it is showing this is what is the temperature, and it is quite obvious that very close to the plate the temperature will be higher, and exactly in contact with the plate the fluid layer will have the same temperature as that of the hot plate. Okay, and as you go away from the plate, gradually you will find that the temperature is decreasing, but after reaching a particular point where almost 99% of the temperature difference will be attained, and you will find that the temperature variation is not much. So after this beyond this particular point you see that temperature is almost uniform. Okay, so this is what is the thermal boundary layer. So this particular layer is the thermal boundary layer. Within that region, this region is the thermal boundary layer, and above it, it is outside the thermal boundary layer. So the temperature outside the thermal boundary layer, you can see the temperature is almost uniform, and we are calling that temperature of the fluid as the T infinity, or the free stream temperature. This is called free stream temperature. Free stream temperature, and it is denoted by T infinity. Okay, and that temperature here is shown by TF for this particular example, and T wall is quite clear, the temperature of the hot wall here, and definitely the heat transfer will be perpendicular to the plate, and that heat flux is Q double prime. Okay, this is what is the heat flux. So which is basically the rate of heat transferred divided by area. What is this area? This area is basically the area of the plate. If you consider, this is what is the area of the plate. Okay, here you can see this is what is the length of the plate. This is the length of the plate, and if you consider the width of the plate, if you consider it's a rectangular plate, suppose the width is W, then this length into width will be the area of the plate. So here this area indicates the area of the plate from where basically heat is transferred. Okay, so this is basically the surface area. Okay, so this is the relationship that you can see, that the heat flux is proportional to the temperature difference between the hot plate and the fluid, or the wall and the fluid. Okay, and the proportionality constant here you can see H is what is called convective heat transfer coefficient. H is convective heat transfer coefficient. Okay, so H is convective heat transfer coefficient, but remember this H is not only it is not a material property. This H depends on many factors. This H definitely depends on property of the fluids like density, okay, thermal conductivity, specific heat, and viscosity. Okay, and along with that this H also depends on many flow parameters like the velocity of the fluid. Okay, it also depends on the geometry of the plate. Okay, so maybe the length. Okay, so you can see that this H is function of many parameters. It can depends on maybe on the surface roughness. Okay, so this H depends on many factors, so it is not a simple property. So we cannot tell that okay, this is air, so its H will be this. Okay, it depends on flow parameter, it depends on the geometry, it depends on the fluid properties. So H depends on many parameters. So it is not like a thermal conductivity that you have seen, that which is a material property. If you know this is the material, if you know that at this temperature this will be the thermal conductivity, but H is not a direct material property. It depends on material property, but along with that it also depends on the geometry, flow parameters, like that. That you have to remember. In fact, to finding out the H for a particular flow situation is the main thing that we study in convection. Okay, so when you will go to the convection, there you will find you will see that basically the solving all the equations and everything is ultimate objective is to finding out what is the value of H. Okay, so solving H is the main objective of the convection study. So H is very complicated parameter that you have to remember. Now this is what is the Newton's law of cooling. Now Newton's law of cooling can also be seen from a different point of view, or we can measure this H from a different perspective if you look it in a different way. So let us see this one. Consider that this is the a solid plate, okay, and consider this is the fluid layer. I am trying to draw some of the fluid particles of the molecules which are in contact, direct contact with the solid surface. And you know from the theory of boundary layer that you have already studied in fluid mechanics, that the close to the surface, that means the fluid layer which is in contact with the surface, will have the same velocity as that of the solid surface. So here we are considering this hot plate as a stationary plate. That means here the velocity is 0. Therefore this fluid layer will also have the 0 velocity. That means this fluid layer is stationary. But the fluid is flowing, and if you see the velocity distribution, you will find that the velocity is gradually increasing. Again you will find at a point, after which the velocity variation is almost not there, because 99% of the free stream velocity will be reached, and this is what is the thickness of the velocity boundary layer or hydrodynamic boundary layer, whatever you say. So after that this velocity is almost the free stream velocity, we represent by u infinity, okay. But before that velocity is gradually increasing, and at this location the velocity is 0 because the plate is stationary. Now you consider this layer of fluid, where the velocity is 0. So definitely when heat is transferred, if heat has to be transferred from the solid plate, definitely to transfer heat from the solid plate to the fluid, this heat has to pass through this region, right? So to pass through this region, now what will be the process of heat transfer in this layer? In this layer which is in contact with the solid plate, but this layer is, remember, is a fluid. This is a fluid layer which is stationary. So stationary fluid layer. Stationary fluid layer in contact with the solid plate. So heat has to pass through this layer first. Now what will be the mode of heat transfer when it is passing through this layer? See, since this fluid layer is stationary, that means there is no advection present, because advection is related to the fluid flow. So there is no fluid flow present in this layer. So only way by which the heat can transfer from the solid plate to this bulk fluid is by conduction. So through this layer, which is the layer in contact with the solid surface, which is stationary, through this layer, when fluid is passing, then the heat when heat is flowing through that layer, definitely that heat transfer process is nothing but the pure conduction. So if it is a pure conduction, then what is the heat flux? That we can find out simply from the K del T del Y, from the Fourier's law of heat conduction. We know that heat flux is, for the conduction, is minus of K into del T del Y. What is, why del T del Y? Because this direction we are considering as Y. This is Y direction. So the gradient in that direction you have to consider. So del T del Y is the temperature gradient in that direction. Remember the del T del Y that we are considering at which point? This del T del Y at Y is equal to 0. Okay, because this is the Y direction, so we are considering the layer just in contact with the solid surface. So del T del Y at Y is equal to 0, we want to find out the temperature gradient and then multiply it by the thermal conductivity. But what is the substance here? What is the substance? The substance is this stationary fluid. Remember, this is not the solid, this is the fluid. So this K, remember, Kf basically. Okay, so this is thermal conductivity of the fluid. That is very important, that you have to remember, which we know is generally very low. Okay, so this is thermal conductivity of the fluid that you have to remember. So minus of Kf del T del y at y is equal to 0 is basically the heat flux that will be transferred through this stationary surface. Then the same heat will be transferred to the bulk fluid because there is no storage at this surface. So the heat that will transfer here from the solid plate to the stationary layer, the same heat will be transferred to the bulk fluid. So this heat flux can also be written as simply H into T wall minus temperature of the fluid. Okay, so we can also write the heat flux in this way using the Newton's law of cooling. So this quantity has to be same with this quantity. So we can find out H from this comparison is that H can be written as this quantity, which is minus K into del T del y at y equal to 0 divided by the temperature difference. Okay, so in this way we can also define what is the value of H, so that you can see here. Okay, now let us try to get a feel of the numbers. That means what should be the value of H. So value of H in SI unit, what is the unit of H? So you have seen that the heat flux is equal to H into some temperature difference. So unit of heat flux by the time you know is nothing but watt per meter square, and the temperature difference can either be degree centigrade or it can be Kelvin. So H will have the unit of watt per meter square per Kelvin. Okay, so this is what is the unit of H. So in this unit basically these values are given. Here you see natural convection and forced convection. Already we have mentioned what we mean by the natural convection and forced convection. If you remember, the forced convections are the convection phenomena that occurs because of some external agency like some pump, some fan or blowers. If they create the fluid motion, okay, then that kind of convection is called forced convection. And natural convection is that there is no external agencies like fan, pump, but because of the temperature gradient, because of the buoyancy forces, because of the density difference, the natural fluid flow occurs. Okay, and because of that basically motion of the fluid, bulk motion of the fluid occurs, and the convection because of this temperature gradient occurs in case of a natural convection, where because of the fluid flow is created because of the density variation or the temperature variation. Okay, so these are under natural convection. Definitely in case of natural convection you can see the values of H are not very high, but definitely in case of a forced convection the values of H are very high. So first you see, let us consider the steel gases. So for the steel gases you see the values are 5 to 25, because natural convection if you want to consider there are basically no external fluid flow is created by some external agency, and that is why it is calling the steel gases. Okay, and you can see its value 5 to 25 in that order. If it is steel liquids, in that case the natural convection, then the value of H in case of liquids is bit more. You see it is 50 to 300. Okay, so this is the value in this unit. And if it is for the gases, for the forced convection, you see its value from 15 to 250 in that order. So you just try to get some idea that what should be the value. Already I have told you that you cannot specifically tell that this will be the value of h. Actually, to find out the h, you have to solve a lot of partial differential equations that we are going to study in when we'll study the convection. Okay, or we have to do certain experiments. We have to, based on certain empirical relations, basically h can be calculated. So how to find out h exactly, that we'll see later on, but right now to get a feel of their numbers, that what it should lie, at least these are the common ranges in which they vary. So in case of flowing liquids, you see it is in the order of say 100 to 5000 for the forced convection in case of liquids. For the boiling liquids or for the condensing vapors, that means because when there is a change of phase occurs, you see the values of h are very very large. It is in the order of 10,000, 20,000, in that order. Okay, so you can see for the natural convection gases, it is very small. From that, for the boiling or condensation during phase change, its value can be as high as 50,000 or more than that. Okay, so these are the ideas of the values of h. Now we have seen the one of the subsidiary law in case of conduction, which is the Fourier's law of heat conduction. Then we have seen one of the subsidiary law useful for the convection, which is Newton's law of cooling. Now we'll see Stefan Boltzmann law. This is one of the very important law in radiation heat transfer. Okay, so here you see basically this one is the EB. This is kind of a heat flux. This is basically, here you can see the radiation. Here remember, this is applicable for the radiation, and to be very specific, that this particular law that you can see over here is applicable for the black body radiation. This B basically indicates the black body, and E indicates the emissive power. Okay, so this is basically the emissive power of a black body, which basically indicates radiation flux that is emitted from a black body. So Q divided by A is the surface area of a body, if you consider this is a body, and its total surface area surrounding it, the total surface area is what is A. So A is the surface area, and from that body basically radiation is coming out, and that emission, radiation emission that is coming out per unit, the rate of radiation per unit area is what is the black body radiation flux, which is called the emissive power of the black body, EB. So the unit is very clear. It is again watt per meter square, because it is per meter square. And remember, black body is basically it is an ideal body where we can consider the maximum amount of emission takes place from a black body. Other bodies which are non-black, the amount of emission will be less than that of a black body. Okay, so if you consider that this is a body which is not a black body, suppose this one is a black body and this one is not a black body, so non-black or a real body if you consider, because black body is somehow ideal, and the emissive flux which is coming out from this particular body is if that is E, and from the black body the emissive flux which is coming out is EB, then this if they are at the same temperature, suppose both of them are at the same temperature T, okay, then we can say that E divided by EB, remember this quantity must be less than 1, because EB is the maximum amount of emission at that temperature occurs if it is a black body. So black body radiation flux is definitely higher than the radiation flux coming out for any other body at the same temperature. Okay, so this quantity is less than 1, and this ratio is what is called the emissivity. Okay, this is what is called the emissivity of a real body. So if you want to find out that how much emission is taking place from a real body, simply what we do, we multiply this emissivity value with the black body radiation flux, and black body radiation flux you can calculate using this Stefan-Boltzmann law. So Stefan-Boltzmann law is what? It is sigma. This sigma is the Stefan-Boltzmann constant, and remember this is a surface property. Remember, this is not a surface property, this is a universal constant. So this is not changing with the nature of the surface or the material. So this is a universal constant, and its value is 5.67 into 10 to the power minus 8 in the unit watt per meter square Kelvin to the power 4, and this T is the temperature of that body which is emitting radiation at the temperature T. But this temperature, remember, is expressed in absolute scale in Kelvin. That is very important. Remember, K is capital. Okay, so in thermal conductivity, if you remember the symbol, K is small. Here the unit Kelvin, K is capital, and there is no degree used for writing Kelvin. Like degree centigrade is used, but not degree Kelvin. Remember, only Kelvin. So this is what is the Stefan-Boltzmann law. Stefan-Boltzmann law gives you how much black body radiation flux emits from a black body at a temperature T. You can calculate that using if you know the temperature of that body. Just you have to convert it into Kelvin, and you have to do this calculation. Okay, so sigma into T to the power 4. And if you know that for a real body, if you know the emissivity of that body for a real body, E will be equal to simply epsilon into black body radiation. That means E epsilon into sigma into T to the power 4. Okay, where epsilon, remember, is a surface property of the substance. Okay, so this depends on the surface of the material, because if you consider a very polished surface, okay, like polished aluminum or the polished steel, so if the surface is very polished, in that case the values of epsilon are very small. Okay, this may be for very polished surface, maybe in the order of 0.1, 0.05, 0.2, in that order. Okay, they are very small if it is in that order, if it is very polished surface, or it may be 0.1, 0.2, in that order. So the order is 0.1 basically, that you have to remember. Epsilon is in the order of 0.1 when it is a very polished surface, but when it is a oxidized surface, not so polished surface, suppose oxidized or anodized aluminum, anodized something, or oxidized surface, in that case its value will reach to around say 0.5, 0.6, like that. Okay, but if the surface is like some organic surface, okay, organic materials, okay, so in those cases its value is in the order of 0.95. Suppose human body, human skin, its value is in the order of 0.95, 0.96. Emissivity is very high. For the brick, its value is more than 0.8, 0.85, like that. In case of brick, wood, for these cases the values are close to 0.9. Okay, emissivity values are very high for this kind of a material. So these are certain basic idea that I am giving you, that how these values of emissivity actually happens for the different kinds of surfaces. But remember that the main thing that you have to remember, if it is a very polished surface, then the emissivity is small, but if it is like brick, wood, or any organic kind of a material, then its value is very high. Okay, maybe 0.95, 0.9, like that. So through this calculation, you can find out the emissive power or the radiation flux. And if you want to find out what is the rate of heat transfer by radiation, simply you have to multiply it by area, because you know the expression radiation flux is nothing but the rate of heat transfer divided by area. So if you multiply it by the area, you will get the rate of heat transfer. Okay. Before going to the problem solving strategies, let me tell you something more regarding radiation. So let us consider this is a surface. Let us consider this is a surface, and from this surface, because of its temperature, suppose this surface is at a temperature Ts. Suppose this is the surface S and its temperature is Ts. And let us consider there is some surrounding, maybe the surface is there within a room or something. Okay, so the surrounding having suppose temperature T surrounding. Okay, T surrounding. Now you see, because of its temperature, it is emitting, because of its temperature Ts, it is emitting radiation heat flux. So how much it is emitting, tell me? It will be simply epsilon, we are considering it's a real surface, so epsilon into sigma into Ts to the power 4. So this is what is the radiation that will emit from the surface. This is what is the emission. Now because of the surrounding, surrounding having certain temperature, that is T surrounding, that T surrounding may be more or may be less than Ts. Let us consider that T surrounding is less than Ts, so T surrounding is smaller, but because of its temperature T surrounding, it will also emit radiation, and that radiation is definitely fall on the surface, and this is the flux that is going to fall on the surface, and this G is equal to sigma into T surrounding to the power 4 if that is going to fall on the surface, if we consider that the surrounding is very very large with respect to this surface. Okay, and it is enclosed by, the whole surface is enclosed by the large surface. So we are considering this is a large enclosure, and this is a small surface. This is a small surface. So assuming this radiation flux which is coming into the surface from the surrounding can be expressed as sigma into T surrounding to the power 4. Why this is happening, that we will explain when we will go to the radiation, but for the time being you just remember that this is what is the amount of irradiation coming onto the surface if it is small and if this one is large. Okay, so if I think is clear, the if thing is nothing but the surface on which this is coming is a small one, and where from it is coming is a very large one. Assuming under that condition, this is the G which is falling on the surface. So this, the radiation which is falling on a surface is called irradiation. This is called irradiation. So the irradiation that is falling onto the surface is sigma T surrounding to the power 4. Okay. So now the whole thing that will fall definitely will not be absorbed by the plate, because some of the things will be reflected, right? So if we assume the portion that has been absorbed by the plate, the portion of the irradiation that will be absorbed by the plate, so that much is what is alpha into G. So alpha is the fraction of the irradiation that will be absorbed by the plate, and definitely the value of alpha is less than 1. Okay, so alpha into G is the amount that will be absorbed by the plate. Okay, so now if you see if this is the absorbed by the plate, then definitely what is the net rate of heat transfer with the surrounding. If we want to find out that what is the rate of heat transfer from the plate to the surrounding, if from the plate to the surrounding, if you want to find out the rate of heat transfer, then that rate of heat transfer definitely per unit area will be equal to, where Q net rate of heat transfer per unit area will be equal to epsilon into sigma into Ts to the power 4, and how much it will absorb? It will absorb alpha into G. And now you simply replace this G by sigma into T surrounding to the power 4, and there is another thing, that is what is the Kirchhoff's law, another subsidiary laws of radiation that we'll learn when we'll go to the radiation chapter. But right now you just consider for a special case like gray and diffuse surfaces. What are the gray surface, diffuse surface? We will discuss everything under radiation, but for the time being you just remember that the emissivity and the absorptivity of the gray and diffuse surface are same. Okay, so this is what is the Kirchhoff's law. So if we apply that also here, so this expression will become epsilon into sigma Ts to the power 4 minus alpha, you just replace by epsilon because alpha and epsilon are same, and G you replace by sigma T surrounding to the power 4. Okay, sorry, yeah. This is Ts. So this is the net rate of heat flux ultimately going from that plate to the surrounding. So epsilon into sigma into Ts to the power 4 minus T surrounding to the power 4. Okay, so this is a very important expression that is required to solve the many problems. Okay, but when we'll go to the radiation in detail, we are going to see all these things because in radiation there are two aspects, like spectrum aspect is there, directional aspects are there, those are required to be explained. So we'll see when we'll go to the radiation, but for the time being these are very basic things, that what will be the rate of heat transfer from a between two bodies if we want to find out. For a special case we have considered, if the plate is small and the large enclosure is there, then definitely we can say that the net rate of heat transfer will be epsilon sigma into Ts to the power 4 minus T surrounding to the power 4. The important thing that you have to remember, this temperature must be expressed in Kelvin. In case of conduction and convection, in the expression you will find that there is only temperature difference. So either if you express in Kelvin or degree centigrade, it is not going to change your answer. But here remember, you have to express it in Kelvin, otherwise you will be in trouble. Otherwise problem will be wrong. Now there are certain steps that is required to follow if you want to solve the heat transfer problems, and these are very, very important. So always we will try to solve through these steps. So first thing is that read the problem statement carefully, and then you identify the known things, the known parameters, try to list the known parameters. Okay, so this is the first thing, so that several times you need not to read all the problems. So once you just write what are the things, those are known, then only looking at that will be sufficient. You need not to read the problem again and again. The second thing, you clearly again write that what are the things that you have to find out, what are the parameters that you have to find out. Okay, so these two things are important. First, you basically reduce the whole large problem into what are the things that you know and what are the things that you have to find. You first do that thing. Third one is rather the most important one, that is the drawing of a schematic of the physical system. Okay, so try to draw a schematic of the problem statement. So what the physical system should look like, So not just draw a schematic of that, and in that drawing you just show what are the different kinds of interaction. If it is possible, you show the control surface by the dotted line. Okay, so you identify which one is the control volume. So what are the other interactions? Okay, so looking at the schematic, it will be very easy to understand that what is the problem statement. So it is possible that in the schematic itself you show the different parameters, different properties, those things in a very good way. So schematic helps you to understand the whole problem if you can draw the schematic, and always in the heat transfer problem try to draw the schematic. Okay, because this drawing itself carries marks when you are trying to solve the problems. Next, the assumptions. It is very important that what are the assumptions that you are considering when you will try to analyze the problem. Okay, then the properties, because many properties might be required, some material properties or some other things might be required. So for these properties you have to either consult the handbook, or in many cases it will be given itself in the problem. Okay, next is the analysis part. So you have to use the different laws that you have learned, the fundamental laws, the subsidiary laws, that you have to apply to solve the problem. And finally, it is very important, the comments. Discuss your results. Okay, such a discussion may include a summary of the key solution conclusions, critique to the original assumptions, and an inference of trends obtained by performing additional what if, parameter sensitivity calculations, and all that. These are also very important. That means if you change a particular parameter, then your answer is changed by how much. This is what is the parameter sensitivity. What if, that means if some value is given, if the value is double or triple, then what is its effect. So, or if the assumptions that you are considering, if you do not, if the assumptions, how that assumptions affect the results. Okay, so these are the things that is required to be judged after, even after the problem. So this post-processing part is also very, very important to understand the actual problem very well. So remember, in heat transfer problems, in most of the cases we are trying to solve some practical problems, some industrial problems, or whatever that may be, but we have to think the problem very well, we have to understand the problem very well, and all the data with which we are trying to solve the problems are very much realistic problems, and that's why I have recommended the books by Incropera or the Cengel. So these are very standard books, and try to solve the problems from these books. Okay, so that will give you a great insight to the problems, or you will get a very good grip on the heat transfer, how to analyze the problems. So let us take some examples.